Thank you everyone for tuning in. This is our 7th episode of the Community Coach Series, where we go around South Florida. We interview trainers, coaches, interesting people, local celebrities, just to learn more about what's available in here in South Florida. So today we're here with
Asim Zaidi,
aka, as I know him as Awesome, aka Sensei Splash, aka
he knows all my nicknames.
Oil Money.
Oil Money. That's a throwback.
I did my homework.
That's a throwback. That's funny.
And I'm sure there's a number of other names, but we're here at his gym, the Goatshed Academy. So we're going to talk to him a little bit about his background. We're going to talk about the gym, the movement that Awesome is leading in South Florida martial arts, and then we'll talk about some other things as well. So let me just lead off with, what does it mean to be a GOAT?
I think if you want to consider yourself a GOAT, you have to be dedicated to the mission of being the greatest you of all time. You know, so whatever industry you're in, if you're dedicated to being the greatest person in that industry ever, if that's your dedication, that's your life goal, then you can call yourself, you know, a GOAT. You're on the path to becoming a GOAT, I should say.
Path to becoming
yeah.
a GOAT. So it's more of a journey than a destination.
Always, you know, and that's the thing, like, the journey of becoming a GOAT in the Indian industry is going to require a lot of sacrifice. It's going to require a lot of suffering and things like that. And if you don't find love in the journey, you're just never going to enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of trick yourself or genuinely love the process, you know, even those bumps or those little hills you might face until you finally get to that destination, you know, which probably will never happen. You know?
Gotcha. Okay. So it's not, you don't have to be a great fighter to be good.
Definitely not. You know, all the vibe I want in the gym, the culture I want in the gym is just a group of individuals that want to be the best themselves of all time. That's what I want. You know what I mean? So some of those guys are fighters, they're prospects, and some of those are regular people, entrepreneurs. And you'll notice that each and every student here is dedicated to their craft, and that's what I want. You know, I want people that are focused and wanting to accomplish something bigger than themselves.
Gotcha.
You know?
So you want to bring a bunch of, you know, ambitious high achievers together to feed off each other's energy.
100%. And you know what? When I opened this place, that's the thing. So I when I started training my team, the first 3.5 years, 4 years, I trained them for free, 7 days a week, twice a day. I did it with just my passion, you know, and I really loved my fighters. And then we decided to open up. And the problem when we were going to open up was, how are we going to keep this vibe? We're going to have to sign people up, and now we're going to have to accept memberships because we have to pay rent. But is this going to ruin the culture of the team? And that was a big question. And what I did was I came up with an idea, which this is our cage. I got all these sponsors to get involved. So just with the cage alone, I don't need members. So if I want to kick someone out, I can kick them out. And that's happened many times. That's how I've kept the culture so positive here. You know what I mean? I don't sign up every single student. I'm not starving for memberships. Obviously, I love to have students and people to join the movement. But at the same time, if I see someone that doesn't have the attitude I like, I know I can part ways with them without the gym suffering. You know what I mean? Which is a huge advantage for sure.
Yeah, it allows you to build a culture and not be forced to
exactly
mold with whatever you know.
And that's the thing too. I think people feel that because, you know, a lot of gyms, you know, they're struggling in the sport because the sport is it's a rough sport. So the gyms don't generally grow too much, and you know, a lot of times they're starving for memberships. So they have to do a lot of different things to just get members. And what's really cool about us is the fact that we have all these sponsors supporting us. Yeah, we don't have to do that. So this will never be looked at as a business. It's a passion project. Obviously, it's a very lucrative business. Thank God we found a way to do that. But that's never what it's about. It's 100% about taking over the world and world domination and being, you know, the greatest fighters that ever existed. That's what it's about, number one, over anything else. It's a passion project.
Gotcha. You know? So I'm going to come back to, you know, more about who you are in the gym, but I want to stay on this topic. So what is it that you do that obviously you're trying to attract maybe a certain type of individual? What kind of things do you do to make sure that those are the types of people that show up at your gym? Is it the social media? Is it word of mouth?
It's a little bit of everything because many people tell me they're intimidated sometimes by the social media, but I do it on purpose because I know that the personality that won't be intimidated is someone that really, really has that enthusiasm in themselves and wants to get to that next level. Someone that's a little intimidated by that and decides not to come, generally speaking, they may not be the people that want to put it on the line or be in a place where there's a lot of pressure, different things like that. So although social media, sometimes it gets a little out of hand, it definitely does, but it also attracts that person that's not intimidated by anything, that's willing to go that extra mile in order to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish.
Yeah. Would you say that someone who's willing to look at the Instagram page and still show up is also probably somebody who's okay with being humbled?
Definitely, and that's the big part of any industry, right? You got to be willing to, humble yourself and see what's out there, and willing to test yourself, even if that means, getting your butt kicked over and over every single day, but willing to do that until you're the one, winning and achieving, so it definitely, it's that type of culture that we're showing on Instagram for sure.
Yeah, and obviously with being humble is just built into martial arts.
For sure.
I mean, there's just no natural ability that's going to allow you to walk into a gym like this, full of guys with a lifetime's worth of wrestling or something like that.
For sure.
You just have no chance.
Definitely,
You're
definitely.
sheep, and they're going to eat you up, but you're going to grow and you're going to learn from it, and you're going to have the opportunity to train with a high-level guy, and it's not that easy to just walk into a gym and have high-level guys to train with.
Definitely.
Right? So that kind of brings me to another question about the gym, which is that the layout of the classes is a little different than some other martial arts schools or other martial arts gyms. All your classes are pretty much centered around MMA, and the other thing that's interesting is that, for example, a hobbyist like myself can jump into class, and there could be a world champion in that same class, right? Which is kind of unique. Is that by design? Do you like bringing people together, or what's the thought process?
Here's what's interesting. When I first was opening up, and I'm friends with a lot of gym owners and coaches everywhere because I've traveled so much for training. Nobody said this would be successful. Everyone thought this was going to fail, and because they were saying people would be intimidated by the MMA. They want to do jiu-jitsu, they want to do lighter training, they would be intimidated by MMA and not really enjoy the real fighting. You know what I mean? So I disagreed. I felt like, hey, not every hobbyist is going to be scared or intimidated by MMA. Some people want to learn how to fight for real. They want to learn the real techniques, and I knew that there would be a special niche because every school separates the styles. They're like, hey, here you're going to do boxing, here you're going to do jiu-jitsu, here you're going to do wrestling here. Nobody teaches MMA, so I knew I'd be the first gym in Miami, actually the first gym probably in South Florida, that teaches MMA to the general public. Which I think that's what makes us so unique. That's why people were attracted to us. And then as far as fighters and everyone trained together, right now the gym is still, now we're over capacity, so eventually that might have to change. But I wanted people to see, hey, look how successful this guy is learning your techniques. Both you guys are learning the same thing, and you get to see an example of someone so successful, a world champion, national champion, doing what you're learning. So people know I'm not teaching them, something from a movie. They know it's real stuff. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And I would say probably, obviously there's other variables in a street fight, but from a hand-to-hand combat standpoint, MMA is kind of as close as you can get
Exactly.
in a self-defense situation.
Exactly.
Street fighting, there's probably going to be some striking and grappling.
For sure.
Throwing.
Everything.
Etc.
Everything. Yeah, for self-defense. And that's the thing, if you want to really learn how to defend yourself on the street, how am I going to tell you, okay, practice this martial art where they don't allow punching? Or practice this martial art where they don't allow grappling? It just doesn't make sense, like you said. The fight can go anywhere. So I need to teach everything. Even our fence wrestling techniques where we learn how to fight on the wall, that doesn't only apply to MMA. There's objects around any area, anywhere you go. There's walls everywhere. Yeah. So you need to even know how to fight against a wall. You need to be knowledgeable there as well. So we cover all aspects, again, like you said, hand-to-hand fighting. When I was younger, I was teaching at the Gracie Academy, and I helped teach the defense tactics team for Miami-Dade, law enforcement, military. And we did teach gun retention and how to take guns away and knives and stuff, but I'm just not confident in that area. And I want to teach what I know, and I know MMA. So I can teach that. You know what I mean? Hand-to-hand fighting. That's our specialty.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so let's peel back a little bit and just give us a little bit of your background. As far as you were just telling me, you grew up in South Florida, and I know you have a pretty extensive martial arts history yourself. So take me through your own martial arts journey up until the point where you became, your coaching kind of overtook your own career.
Yeah. Wow, it's a long journey because my father was a fighter, my uncles were fighters, and my father was my first coach. So I have videos at 3 years old, spinning back kicking and all that stuff. And then my father passed me to another coach when I was like 6. And then at 10 years old, we saw Royce Gracie come into the UFC. And I started seeing him just smash everybody no matter the size. And I was always like a skinny, longer, lanky guy. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I don't know if I could kickbox for the rest of my life because I thought I was so small and not very strong. But I said, I could do that. If that guy's doing that, I could do that. So I joined the Gracie Academy when I was 10 years old, and I was with them for 15 years. I eventually became Helio Gracie's assistant, who was the creator of UFC and Jiu-Jitsu. I became Royce's assistant. And when it was time for me to turn pro, I won a couple world championships in kickboxing, national titles, different things like that. Royce asked me, who's your favorite fighter? We were at lunch. I said, GSP is my favorite fighter. And he's like, okay. Took out his phone, called GSP. I'm going to send you one of my black belts. I went to TriStar, which is a huge gym, world-renowned gym in MMA. I was visiting there for 3 years, back and forth, training with all those amazing fighters, Eamon Zahabi and GSP, all those guys. Eventually, they sent me to John Danaher, who's an unbelievable, probably one of the greatest minds to ever exist in the sport. And I was flying back and forth with him and Gary Tonin for 3 years. And finally, I was trying to coach and fight at the same time. And my girlfriend actually woke me up one day. She's like, look, you're being unfair to your fighting career by coaching at the same time, and you're being unfair to your fighters by fighting at the same time. Right. You need to make a decision right now what you want to do. You need to pick one if you want to be successful. You need to have a chief aim. And she was right. She really went off on me on that conversation. And I actually had a dream that, and I don't really know what I believe, but I had a dream that God came to me and is like, do you want a UFC title or do you want Ryan Coos to be a UFC champion, who's one of my students? Uh-huh. And in that dream I said, I want Ryan to be champion. And when I woke up, I realized that I love my students' careers more than myself. And I want it more for my guys than for myself. And that was the moment. That within 2 weeks, I signed a lease here and I opened up. Within 2 weeks of that decision. Wow. Yeah, opened up immediately.
So that decision wasn't too long ago, right?
No, we opened up January 18th. That was the official opening. In December, we signed the lease and started construction, and we were training with just the mats. There was nothing here. It was a gross place. This place was nasty. There was no bathrooms. It was really nasty, a nasty warehouse. And I was terrified, but I'm like, this is my path in life. I'm going to open up this new book and run with it. And we've been extremely successful. In 1 year, we're over capacity. We're already looking to buy a new property, a 20,000 square foot property to expand. And we're undefeated this year in MMA. Undefeated. I don't know what team can say that. We're the most active team in Florida, and we haven't lost. Not only that, we got a Netflix documentary that we're doing right now. Oh, really? We have more students than gyms that have been open for 15 years, and this is all in 1 year. So it's amazing. I truly feel blessed.
Not a normal year.
Not
a global pandemic.
During a pandemic, that's what's shocking. And the pandemic, in a strange way, helped us a lot. This gym particularly, just because every gym during the pandemic, and they have to, so nothing against them, but they were begging their members to keep paying during the pandemic. And during the pandemic, I canceled everyone's membership. So I had 130 people here coming for free, and I taught a full schedule, and I think they saw that, wow, this guy really doesn't do it for that reason. He does it for the love of it. They got to see that. And a lot of people from other gyms came to visit. They heard about us, and they got to see the culture, and they fell in love with it. And they just stuck around. The word started spreading like wildfire. And and now you see it. We're over capacity. Yeah. Some classes are terrible. You're bumping into other people. Like you can't even train anymore. Yeah. It's a good and bad problem. So,
Okay, so had your career, you competed in like jiu-jitsu, you competed in kickboxing.
I was a USA team representative for combat sambo, for kickboxing, for wushu sanda, like sanchao. I won world championships, 2 world championships in kickboxing, 3 national titles. I won national title in combat sambo. Flew around the world for that sport as well. I fought in Thailand, China, Italy. I won the European championships in Italy. Fought in Colombia. I was all over the world. When it was my time to fight.
Yeah.
Then, as I started getting my students, I became addicted to teaching them. And I left my career behind me.
So there was a period of time, like I guess it would have been like late 20s, where you were training to fight yourself, but you already had started to develop your own team.
Yes, I didn't want to grow my team past 5 people, but I had fighters that were like, please, I want to be your student, I want to be your student. And I knew each student I brought on would take away from my own fighting career. But I didn't have the heart to say no, and I left it at 10. I said, no more than 10. So I was trying to compete and teach at the same time, and it was very difficult. It was very difficult to do that. I still won a pro title. That was my last fight. I said, okay, I'm going to fight for a pro title. That was my last fight. I won a pro title in Florida. Nothing huge, but I said, okay, that was my goodbye. And then focused on my students, and I'm a happier man because of it, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. So, martial arts through 20, started a team. Now, when you opened Goatshed Academy, did you already have obviously the gym kind of exploded, but did you already have a pretty good following, or what do you think led to at least that initial,
Man, I'll tell you what, it's really crazy, because in any industry, I think when you're starting to pass people that have been around for a long time, you're going to receive like a lot of hate or negative attention as well, because you're getting so popular, and some people, they're not happy with somebody else surpassing them,
Right.
So in the beginning, people were saying, hey, these guys, they'll never make it as amateurs. They're just a marketing, genius. That guy's a marketing genius, but he's never going to make it as a coach. He's never going to do it. And then all my guys won titles. Every single student I had won a title. And then I was like, okay, but they'll never make it as pros. And then now we're undefeated as a pro team. And it's like, okay, but they'll never make it in the bigger competitions. We undefeated on UFC Fight Pass, and now we have guys in Bellator winning Bellator. We have guys overseas winning pro championships, and now we have UFC recruits. And now the new rumor, you're going to laugh, I don't know if you've heard this yet. The new rumor gyms are spreading is that I pay my students to be with me.
Pay your students to be with you.
Friendship checks.
Gotcha.
So this is a new rumor they're starting. They're like, the reason he's so successful, he recruits guys and he pays them with friendship checks. So it's like a weird thing that these other gyms are creating right now. But in reality, like, it was a hard road because a lot of people didn't want us to succeed. But we pushed through, and we backed up everything we said we would do.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's what a GOAT is. You look at Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Mayweather, Conor McGregor. You look at the GOATs in all of these sports, they all have a commonality. They all say what they're going to do and over-deliver. So I always say GOATs make big promises and we over-deliver.
Yeah.
I tell people what we're going to do all the time. And it's not trash talk because we're doing it. It's not like we're failing. I say we're going to do it and we're going to do it every single time. And I really feel like that's what a GOAT is. That's true confidence. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you the layout. I'm going to tell you my plan, and no matter how hard you try, I'm still going to make it happen.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the fact that your team has been so active really, because it would probably be easier to, tuck away, have training sessions, and post, you do post clips, oh, look at this great takedown, look at this, but then not be that active and
of
kind of be
course.
that like gym warrior type of player.
Yes, and I never want to be that.
Right.
I purposely scheduled so many fights because I wanted people to know we're the most active team. And we're not choosing opponents, we're not choosing fights. We'll take any opportunity we get. So, for example, I had one fighter, it was his second pro fight ever, and he's already fighting a guy with 10 pro fights. Fighting a guy for a title, in the DR, and then finishes him in the second round. I want people to know that not only are we the most active team, but we're not choosing opponents. We're picking the highest level opponents possible. Who give us the guy. Give us the guy you want us to smash and we'll do it. You know what I mean? So, again, it's all about backing up everything you say, all those promises,
Yeah. The guy that comes to mind is like Gordon Ryan,
Yeah, definitely.
He talks a lot, he talks on Instagram, but man.
No, he pulls it
Everything he
off.
says.
And you know what? He's been, so Gary, I used to live with Gary Tonin, who was his instructor. And Gary used to tell me he's been saying that since he's a white belt.
Yeah.
Since he's a white belt, since he started off the sport, he's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And he's doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how people can still deny the guy. The guy has to be the greatest of all time in jiu-jitsu. I love his personality.
But he doesn't.
And I love what he's doing.
But he doesn't.
I guess you can always, they're always going to find something to say, you know, and it is.
Felipe Pena got him that one time.
Exactly, exactly.
That's about it.
That's it, you know, and they're always going to find an excuse for it. And you know what I'm finding out recently too, it sucks because look, for a small team and a small business to make it, it's difficult. You know, like for a convenience store to make it and Walmart be out there, it's difficult for that convenience store to do anything. Yeah. And the same with MMA gyms. There's some major, huge teams in Florida, which are considered the top teams in the world. So for a small gym to stand out and to make noise and to make it, that's a hard thing to do. And it sucks because like, I'm finding out now that there's a lot of managers out there, you know, they have deals with other teams. They don't really like us for whatever reason because we're managing fighters too now. So now we're their competition. They're telling fighters to leave our gym. There's many of my students, like 6 of my students today, complained that these management teams call them and are trying to tell them, hey, you want to be world champion, you have to go to a real gym. Don't go to that gym. They're new. They don't know what they're doing. You got to go to this gym. And it's hurtful because, you know, I work so hard and you have all these people trying to keep you down. But my father, if he taught me anything, he's like, look, don't try to stop the haters from speaking. Develop tough skin. Yeah. Develop tough skin because they're going to talk the more you accomplish, and you just keep going forward. You know what I mean? You just keep driving on forward.
Yeah. And for sure, if you are being talked about amongst all these people, that tells you you're probably doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, with our social media, you only see the Lambos and the Ferraris and the drones and these beautiful shots and us traveling and eating good food. You don't get to see the grind. Yeah. And this Netflix documentary is going to show that because I think a lot of people are also jealous because it looks like I'm not working maybe. They see the car, they see the fancy food and they're like, this guy, you know, he's just walking around showing off and all this stuff. But in reality, my eyes are burning 24/7. You know, like that feeling when you're absolutely exhausted and your eyes are burning. I have that all the time. No joke. And my head, no lie, I have a permanent migraine. When I travel with these fighters, my headache leaves and that's the time I realize what it feels like to be normal. Because I swear to God, without a doubt, and you probably see me after class sometimes, I go to the corner, I lie down because I put everything into this. I'm here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. without leaving these doors. And I'm here Saturday, half the day too. And I'm here Sunday. And I'm willing to wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. for my fighters. I'll sacrifice anything for my fighters. You know, and I have a great partner, my girlfriend. She sacrifices too with me. We're flying around the world, investing everything we have into seeing them succeed. And people don't get to see that side. Right. They get to see the fun side. Right. So they think it's easy. Yeah. But I know very well that not too many people, not too many business owners, not too many coaches are going to be willing to sacrifice as much as me. Yeah. You know, I don't have a kid right now for a reason. I love my girl. I don't do it I want to put everything in this. I don't want any distractions, nothing. I want to be able to sacrifice more than anybody else. Right. You know what I mean? And I know I'm losing years off my life doing it. I know for sure. Each student I bring on, I'm like, okay, there's another 6 months I'm losing at the end of my life because I'm really killing myself here. But you know what? I want to have the greatest team of all time. I want more UFC champions than any team that ever existed. I want my fighters to be financially stable more than any fighter out there. I want them to be intelligent and educated. I want them on all levels to be superior, and that's what I'm working towards, you know?
Wow, that's deep.
Thanks.
That's deep. A lot of passion.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So let me ask you about your fighters specifically. So right now, obviously you have a handful of guys that you're coaching everywhere from like pros through guys, amateurs, people just getting into MMA, everything in between. Do you like manage most of your fighters as well? Or?
So one thing when I started managing, I didn't think because I don't know what the hell I'm doing with managing. I'm a coach. But everyone's talking about how great of a promoter I am and how great I am at marketing. So I'm like, you know what? My fighters trust me with their lives. I know I will never take advantage of them, but I don't trust this manager. I don't know who this is. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, at this level, at the starting pro level, I'll manage my guys until I get them to a place where I'm not qualified anymore. Once we start negotiating UFC contracts, maybe I take a step back and I hand them off to a bigger manager, because I don't want to take away from my fighters. I'm doing it right now because I know I'm doing the best for them. And literally, you know, I take a huge percentage from my fighters, but I take it 25% as a coach and manager, okay? But here's what I show them. I show them every invoice of every way I've promoted them, and I lose money on every single fighter I manage. I show them, it cost me $750 for your pre-fight promo. It cost me $550 for your post-fight promo. It cost me $300 for your photographer. I advertise you on Instagram. I spent $1,000, whatever it is. By the end of it all, I lost money for sure on each and every fighter. I'd say on average I lose like $750 to $1,000 on each fighter, something like that, and depending on who it is. But I love my guys, and it's working because it also is good for the gym. It also brings students in the gym. The better they do, the better my gym does. So in reality, it's good for all of us, and they get to see the numbers broken down. They know I'm not putting that money in my pocket and going and buying Peking duck and tomahawk steaks. You know what I mean? Yeah. They know where it's going. You know, and always I'm going to be truthful. I do good business. Nobody can ever deny that. You know what I mean? Take care of my guys.
Yeah. As a fellow small business owner, we call that wearing all the hats. You know, you wear the gym owner hat, the manager hat, the head coach hat.
It's exhausting.
Who knows? Or, I don't know, attorney, accountant. I don't know what else you do, but you're wearing a lot of hats.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
That's also very common, I think, for new business owners, especially someone who's as passionate about their business as you. You know, I've felt that myself with my patients. You know, I don't want another doctor with my patients. I only trust myself.
Yes.
You know? And that's probably. It's probably good early on, and then it's part of the evolution is naturally, you know, learning how to outsource is a skill.
Of course,
you know,
it's
every great business owner is a great outsourcer.
Yes.
Because you can't just kill yourself forever.
Of course.
Or, you know.
I'm like stressing just hearing you say this because I know it's true. I don't even know, like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
We're having an intervention right now.
Yeah, like, it's something I've been thinking, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need someone to help me. There's too many fighters, and I don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
I don't trust anyone because they're not willing to sacrifice like that, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know what to do about
that. It's like you build this circle, and then once you find someone who you think has it, you just don't let them get away.
Yes,
you know,
you're very right.
That's what it is.
You're very right.
Whether it's an administrative person or when someone's got it, you say, I need this person as part of my team, and then you do
I'll tell you this. So, although I don't have an assistant MMA coach yet, which I really hope to have one day, I do have people that teach some of the other classes, like the submission grappling class, our wrestling, MMA wrestling program. And what I did was this. Originally, I taught every single class. But what I did, the way I found the instructors, I got very lucky. During the pandemic, Gian, who's our submission grappling coach, he was here, and he was the head coach of Henzo Gracie Weston.
Okay.
And he was here, and I started noticing after class, after I taught, he would help some of the fighters out. And he wasn't getting paid. And then I noticed he's like, hey, do you mind if I teach some of the fighters before your class as a warm-up? I said, yeah. And he did that for a couple of weeks, and I'm like, man, I'm not giving this guy $1. And he's driving all the way from Weston, and he's just teaching fighters for the love of it.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, like, I got to grab that guy.
Yeah.
I got to grab that guy. I can't let go of him. So I put him in charge of the submission grappling program because I know he will be here as long as it takes for someone to get the technique right. Mm-hmm. And he'll be a nerd of the game. He'll be watching jiu-jitsu all day, and he does. He's right there on his laptop, studying jiu-jitsu, you know, all day long. And I know he's going to put more effort than anybody else I can find because it's for passion. It's for nothing else. You know what I mean? So I kept him right away. The MMA wrestling program, I have 2 students, unbelievable. One's a 5-time All-American. The other was on the Cuban national team for 8 years. One of the best athletes in the world. And I saw how hungry they are to be successful. And I saw how selfless they were, how bad they wanted their teammates to be successful. And when I saw that, I'm like, you know what? If I make them a coach of that class, I know they're going to work their butts off because they want their teammates to win. They want their teammates to be successful. So I knew they would put everything in it. Yeah. And that's what I saw there. And I see them sweating during their class, running around, whistling with the whistle and working hard. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I love that. You know what I mean? Slowly, I want to find an MMA guy like that. Hopefully one day, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's the beautiful thing about, you know, even though MMA it's an individual sport at the end of the day, But being part of a team, you know, it encourages you to, as a fighter, to help your teammates. Like the wrestling coaches, like they are training for their own careers, but them helping the other guys in the team will come back around and help them. Because
For sure.
if you're part of a team that goes undefeated in a given year, that's more eyes on you. Now
Exactly.
You're affiliated with
Exactly.
that team.
And what's awesome is, like, look at this. We've created so much noise in this year that we also recruited new talent. Where fighters in the UFC right now are coming to us, and they're leaving their gyms. That's huge. That says a lot.
Yeah.
Look at Mike Perry now.
Yeah.
Mike Perry came here not expecting anything special. Came here just to play around, and he looked at me. He's like, "Dude, where'd you learn this? What is this?" Yeah. He absolutely loved it. You know, and he has that attitude where I feel like he will prosper with us around him. You know what I mean? We're such a positive influence, and he's such a savage, and I love having him in here. And I feel like that's a good combination. He will mesh well, and I feel that he's been successful already, but he's going to find a new form of success now being here. Yeah. But the fact that he's here, so committed, so willing to be with us, shows what we're doing here. Shows how special this place is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a big name, no doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a blockbuster UFC name.
Exactly, for sure.
So let me talk to you a little bit about kind of, obviously, I'm sure you have very lofty goals. You can tell just by listening to you the last 40 minutes. But you have, obviously, one goal is, like you mentioned, UFC champs. You know, have the champ in every weight division, then you sleep a happy man.
Yes.
If that's not the case,
Yes.
you still got more to go.
Yes.
But from the gym side, are you passionate about spreading mixed martial arts and self-defense to hobbyists and expanding that, or is that not really an area that you're...
No, you're right. I haven't talked about that at all, but that was a big focus too. That's part of the GOAT movement. So when I talk about the GOAT movement, what I wanted to do is I wanted these fighters and this culture to inspire the hobbyists in Miami. I wanted the culture of Miami to start shifting a little bit. And, you know, instead of that, we're known for like that kind of entitled attitude a little bit, you know, that Miami attitude. And instead of it being looked at like that, I wanted grinders, you know, guys that are willing to work and not necessarily fighters, but that's what I want. So the GOAT movement is like what we spoke about before, what it means to be a GOAT. Being the best you of all time, the greatest you, and trying to be the greatest person in that industry, whatever it may be. That's what I want to create in Miami. That's the movement I want in Miami. You know what I mean? I want to empower every single person here, and that's with my fighters' help. Look at their success, and I want people to feed off of that, and their stories are so beautiful. When you see, I don't want people to have to wait for this documentary, so I'll put out some videos explaining some of the stories. You hear the stories of some of the students here, and from the dirt of Cuba, and they've been feeding their family through wrestling and judo since they're 8 years old. If they didn't win a competition, their family didn't eat. If they didn't win a competition, there's no air conditioning, buddy. Since 8 years old, that creates a different human. Yeah. You know, and then for them to come all the way here, make it here, and I'll never forget, Dairon and Yuansi, and Angel do this too. They came up to me and they told me they came with the money for tuition, you know, and they're like, hey, we want to pay the school, we want to join your school. And I said, look, are you guys doing good? And they're like, look, we want to pay the school, we want to show you we're committed, we respect your gym, and we want to become students. They told me, we came here from Cuba, the mud of Cuba, and we came here to be something. We want to make a name for ourselves. Tell us what you want us to do. You know, and I'm like, keep your money. Let me get on your feet. You know, I give them a job here, they coach here now. Like, get on your feet and then we'll talk about membership, you know, because I saw all that passion. And the fact that they respected the gym like that, because I knew they had nothing at that time. They were giving me everything they had. And I'm like, no, keep it. Let's work, you know? And I'm so happy I did that. And they're just such wonderful people. But all the students here have a story like that. All my fighters here have a crazy, crazy past. And the fact that they broke out of it and they made it, that's what I want to spread in Miami. That's the GOAT movement. No matter what situation you're in, you know, you can make it through anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Maybe you know, maybe it's that kind of adversity that breeds a GOAT.
You know what? I think you're very right. And one thing is, I don't have that beautiful story my parents had. You know, I grew up well. My parents came here with nothing. You know, they came here with $200, like every immigrant story. You know, my father was 16, working in factories, cleaning pools. You know, he was a janitor, and my uncle was a taxi driver. But my uncle was a taxi driver, but died with over 50 million in his account. You know, my dad became a millionaire 3 times and lost everything 3 times. Now he's up again. but they had nothing. My mother was a single mother, and with no education, and now is the first person in my mom's side of the family to have a mansion. She has an unbelievable mansion, the first person in our family. So I was raised in a very blessed way, not so much because they took care of me financially through, as I was younger, but more because they taught me the lessons of their struggle. And I'd be driving in the car, it was crazy. My dad would turn on audio cassettes of success, like Andrew Carnegie, Napoleon Hill, Richest Man in Babylon, all these books. And I'd be so annoyed. I'd be 8 years old. I'm like, Dad, put some music on. I want to listen to NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, and I want to listen, what are you playing? And he'd listen, he'd turn it on. And now that I have my own business, I'm so grateful. Because all those lessons he taught me, I'm finally using it. And I can't believe it because I'm going through the process, and then a situation will come up, and I know how to handle it because my dad taught me when I was a little kid. And that's priceless, and these guys didn't have that, and that's why I teach them that. I don't just teach them fighting. I teach them about life. You know what I mean? So even though I didn't go through that struggle like my family did, I got so blessed that they did, and I get to learn from their mistakes. You know what I mean? So.
I saw on, I think it was either yours or Goatshed's Instagram story. I saw Hector talking to one of the fighters. And I was like, it was great. It was just great. It was like, Hector's exactly right.
So Hector, that was kind of controversial. He actually told me because he got a lot of DMs, people upset at him. So he was telling Daron how important it is that he's an immigrant. He came here for him to learn English. He's like, I don't want you speaking Spanish. I want you to learn English. And the reason he emphasized that was because don't rely on anybody. When it's time for a sponsor to come to you and do business, you shouldn't need a translator. Hey, I don't need anybody. I can talk business with you. You want to be a successful entrepreneur? I should be able to talk with anybody, speak with anybody. When it's time to be interviewed after your win, you don't need a translator. Hey, don't worry, stay back there. I got it. You should be able to speak. And he wanted to teach that thing. It's so important. You know what I mean? I'm glad that you recognize that. That was really, really important. I'm glad he did that.
The underlying principle that he was trying to get across was great.
Beautiful.
And it's great that's being talked about in a gym.
Yes.
It's not necessarily gym stuff. That's life stuff, finance stuff, making the most of your fighting career that may only be X number of years.
Definitely.
So you really want to have all the right stuff around you.
I mean, we know it. A big part of success in any industry is passion and knowledge, all that stuff, but it's also mindset, and that's what you got to teach to your fighters, to your students. You got to teach them the lifestyle of becoming a GOAT, you know what I mean? And being independent, not relying on other people, and being business savvy as well as fight savvy. It all works together. You look at a guy like Conor McGregor, and he's so intelligent. You hear him speak about business, and it's unbelievable. Like, he speaks so well, and he was basically managing himself. He would check his own analytics and bargain his own contracts. Now he started his own promotion company. He started his own whiskey company, right? Which is, I believe it's $1 billion industry now, $1 billion company, which is unbelievable. I don't know how you do that in a couple years. You know what I mean? So it just shows that he transcends the sport. He transcends MMA. And that's a GOAT. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, there's a quote. Are you familiar with CrossFit at all?
Yeah, of course.
So Matt Frazier is he's the number one. He's the CrossFit GOAT.
Okay.
He's won 5 years in a row. Big mindset guy. But he said something, which he said, how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Wow. That's powerful.
I love that quote.
Jesus.
And I feel like that fits right into what you're talking about with that GOAT.
You know what you made me think about right away?
What?
I don't make my bed. I should do it in every area, right? I should be perfect in every area. I don't make my bed. My girlfriend screams at me all the time. That's not good. Now, I'll start making my bed in every area. How you do anything is how
you do everything.
Everything. Love it.
There you go.
You make your bed?
Huh?
Do you make your bed?
Can't lie right now.
Okay.
But you get the gist.
Yes,
or you
of
can
course.
have a wonderful lady to help you with it. So
that's what I have too.
There's
awesome.
nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
All right, so where do you see this gym / movement in 5 years?
Oh man, if we did this in 1 year, I feel that in 5 years, we're going to be one of the teams that have more titles than any other team in history. I'm going to have some of the wealthiest fighters in history. And I know I'll be the biggest gym out there. You know what I mean? As far as size and the training facility, the quality of the training facility, it's going to be a masterpiece. 5 years from now, it's going to be like a fortress. You know what I mean? And it'll be recognized as such. We'll change the game of MMA completely. We'll have our own organization. We'll have our own management team. We'll have all the champions in every single area. I'll have an organization that's going to compete with Bellator up there. Like, I'm going to just do it different. We're going to change everything about this.
Wow. So you want to even go to the side of...
I want it all. I want it all. I want to change. I want to do things that nobody's done, that nobody thinks about. That they're like, what the hell is... And that's what we're doing with the gym first. This gym's completely different. It looks completely different than any other gym. We're going to change everything. I'm going to do it different because I want to be the first to do something. I don't want to be the second or third to do something. I want to be the first to do something. I want to do things that people didn't imagine, they couldn't fathom doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I want.
So one thing that's been tossed, I'm not actually sure if any MMA teams are doing this right now, but an idea that's been tossed around is building like I don't even know if the UFC PI does this, but basically having a center where you have a place for fighters to live, a dining hall, a sports medicine team.
You have no idea. That's what I want. Yes. Yeah. Like, oh my God, it stinks because the one thing this pandemic kind of messed us up on, we were going to get this facility already. We were going to get a facility bigger than Sanford, as big as ATT Coconut Creek, and this is our first year opening. We were going to get a giant building, gated parking, just gorgeous. Build dorms, build a kitchen. I own a restaurant in South Beach. We're going to put the restaurant inside, health food restaurant, apple a day. I was going to make it literally the state-of-the-art facility. You know what I mean? And the pandemic hit, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not a good idea to invest in something that huge because if everything shuts down again, I'm going to have to pay like 20 grand a month, 25 grand a month rent, and I can't make money. So decided to leave that for the future, see how things pan out. For now, we're going to move to a bigger facility, not 20,000 square feet, move to a little bit, it's bigger, definitely way bigger than this, as a temporary location. But the second everything clears up, hell yes. Dorms, kitchen, restaurant, everything, game room, living room, I want it all. Look, most of my fighters have been here since 9 a.m. You know that. They stay with me from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. too. All my friends stay, we have movie nights and we hang out here, we have lunch here. Nap time, you know, I love my nap time. We have nap time and stuff like that.
That's the only sleep you get, I heard.
The nap, the 2-hour nap.
2-hour nap.
Yes, and people still are calling me. But I want a more comfortable living space for my fighters. Because a lot of these guys, they want to live here, especially the up-and-coming guys. They need to, you know, whether it's financially or whatever it is. And also, I want to know what they're doing. I want to keep track of them. You know, a lot of people also don't like. I throw parties here at the gym. So after the fight, you know, we have food and alcohol, and we turn the lights to pink and music and blasting, and we throw parties here. You know, we had midgets wrestling the other day. Little people wrestling the other day, and
the other day, how long ago?
You weren't here for that?
No, I would remember.
Yeah, that was like maybe like 4 months ago. We had a couple little people doing a luchador event in here, but we have fun here. And my fighters don't. I shouldn't say this yet because they're gonna find out why I do it. But the real reason I throw parties here, because other coaches get mad. They're like, "Oh, look what they support."
So they don't party somewhere else.
I want to know what they're doing. I want to know how much they're drinking. I want to know what's happening in their life. I want to be able to control that because, for example, let's say Ryan has a fight in 2 weeks and he's at this party, right? I see him drinking. I don't say anything. I go up to him like, hey, you ready for that fight in 2 weeks? How's your weight? I don't mention the drinking, nothing. In his head, he's like, they don't know that I do that. That's why I throw parties here. I want to know what they're doing on Saturday night. I want to know what's happening. That's why I throw movie nights here, pizza parties. I want them to be here. I want to see what the hell's happening in their life so I can control them. Because if I tell them not to do something, fighters naturally are rebels. They're going to rebel against them. You know what I mean? So I can't tell them. I have to direct them discreetly. So that's one way I do it. Yes.
Okay, so one of the things that we usually talk about on the show towards the end is, obviously we're chiropractors, so the audience is a lot of our patients, people who are active. So what other people, whether it's, massage, nutrition, what other members of your team do you have work with your fighters? Is that something that you found to be important? Physical therapy, chiropractic, whatever it is.
Yes.
And how do you, as the kind of manager and head coach, how do you pick people for that?
Should I take control of this area? Hey, guys,
For a second.
keep it down a little bit, please. Keep it down a little bit.
As you can see, the class isn't starting for half an hour. It's already
Yeah,
going up.
it's
People are
definitely,
going up.
definitely. So those extracurricular activities are extremely important because a fighter's recovery is just as important as their training.
Yeah.
And I would say MMA is one of the sports that beats up your body more than any sport. And that's like a controversial statement, but I can prove it very easily. The goal of any sport is to score points, to make a touchdown, to score a basket. The goal of MMA is to kill your opponent. Therefore, we definitely break each other's body down way more than any other sport. My goal is to leg kick you till you can't walk, or to punch you till your jaw's broken, things like that.
Yeah.
So naturally, it's going to be a harder sport on your body. So these guys need the recovery work. They definitely need it. I mean, I lost 1.5 inches on my spine, so I need to see you because my spine's compressed.
Oh.
my left arm still goes numb. Numbing my fingertips is a mess for me. You know, and I'm a retired fighter, so I can't imagine these guys. But I need them to getting worked on, 100%. Recovery is a big part of it. Obviously, supplementation helps to a certain degree, but what you do, that's what they need. You know what I mean? And that needs to be emphasized tremendously in any athlete, in any sport, especially in fighting. Especially in fighting.
Do you have people that come? I've seen like massage type stuff over here.
Yes.
Do you have people come to the gym? Do you have people you send fighters to? Do you let them figure it out on their own depending on where they're at?
Well, the one that I do for my fighters, I have a guy that comes twice a week, 3 times a week, and he sort of helps out with the fighters. We post them on Instagram and all that stuff. But if my guys want to go somewhere else, that's on them. There's not. Obviously, I would support, you guys more than anybody. You know what I mean? I would send them to you. I've heard plenty of great things to you. And actually, a lot of my students have messaged you without my suggestion. You know what I mean? Because you guys are pretty big in the industry down here. We don't work with one person specifically yet, but I think now we will. That's what I'm saying. I think now it's time. Yeah. We partner with the GOAT of chiropractic. Exactly.
All right, so let's finish off with 2 questions one of them is just a curiosity. One of them is something I always ask people. So let's hear your Mount Rushmore of MMA.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Oh, man. Okay. You can't mention the sport without mentioning Royce Gracie. He changed everything about the sport. Without him, first of all, it wouldn't exist. Nobody would know about jiu-jitsu. So we got to mention him, Mount Rushmore, right? I think another big shift in the game, I would say GSP. I think he caused a big shift in the game because he was the first fighter that was truly complete everywhere. You know what I mean? Great striker, great wrestler, great jiu-jitsu. He was kind of complete everywhere. So that was another shift of the game. I don't like mentioning him too much, but John Jones, gonna have to mention him. He has his life outside the sport, which is not the greatest, but you know what? He did a lot for the sport. He's definitely a name that needs to be mentioned. And then we got Conor McGregor. I feel that.
Conor over Khabib on the Mount Rushmore.
But here's the thing. That's what I'm arguing in my heart about. Because also Khabib's undefeated. He's the only undefeated fighter. So maybe I'd actually replace him over John Jones. I put Khabib's my favorite fighter ever. Khabib is literally my favorite fighter ever. No, Khabib is.
Literally have a class
Yes,
named after him.
yes. Khabib is.
Smash with an E.
Yes.
Grappling.
What I focus on in this gym is that style. I love Khabib. This is my biggest. I'm the biggest fan for Khabib. But Conor needs to be there for one reason. He transcended the sport like an Ali, like a Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
He wasn't just an MMA fighter. He took over the industry. It was to the point where he was talking about not even getting paid anymore for his fights, but taking a percentage of the UFC. It got to that degree.
Yeah.
That's another level. He wanted to be an owner. He didn't want to be in the fighter's hotel. He wanted to be in the Fertitta mansion. He wanted to be with the owners of the business, and he did it.
Yeah.
And he did it. So Conor needs to be there 100%. I don't care what anyone says. He transcended the sport.
Absolutely.
And thank God you mentioned Khabib because we can replace John Jones with Khabib. I love Khabib. This is the man. I love Khabib
So
for
you're
sure.
disappointed that Hamzat's not fighting?
Yeah, for sure,
Sucks,
man.
right?
Anybody that uses the word smash, I'm with you.
Go
I'm with you. Yeah.
Stamp of approval.
Yes, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
You know what's interesting about Conor is they did a list a few years ago, and it was the 100 most marketable athletes in the world. Conor was number 4. Guess how many other MMA athletes were on that 100 list? 0.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
Only Conor, but he was number 4
That's
behind
crazy.
like Ronaldo, Messi,
Yes.
LeBron, Conor, MMA fighter.
Yep.
Now like Khabib has crawled onto the list.
Got it.
But it was like a few boxers, 1 MMA fighter, and then the rest was other sports. So that tells you all you need to hear. That tells you all you need to hear right there.
100%.
And then last question I always ask guests: one book recommendation for the people watching.
Pertaining to the sport of MMA.
No, anything. Life, mindsets.
I have 2 in mind that are great. My father, I mean, would always play on the audio tapes when we were driving Richest Man in Babylon. You know, Richest Man in Babylon, I think, man, almost above all, the book that pops out of my head is that one. You know what I mean? And that could help in any industry, for sure. Yeah, if I had to pick one book, that's the one.
There you have it.
That's
Richest
the one.
Man in Babylon. that is awesome suggestion. Well, thank you so
Definitely.
much. This is
Yes.
probably the most like passionate interview that we've done with you.
Thank you.
I think your passion just seeped through to social media. So
I hope so.
Hopefully more people who are watching are aware of the GOAT movement and
Yes.
get on board. But thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Pleasure
it.
to have you.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, yes,
Thanks,
yes.
guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
That was great. I love